Okay, this is a quick introduction to Calc Attribute, a really powerful feature in Global Mapper. And we're going to use an example here of Control O, loading up some shape files from an external hard drive. Actually, it's just a separate hard drive. Okay. Ortho imagery, shapes, and we'll start with the 60 centimeter stuff. So we're going to load the tiles for the 60 centimeter. Okay, so when we look at this, all we have for attributes here is the tile name, which is exactly just enough. And we're going to take that name and propagate a new attribute from it, which will have a path to the tile, in particular this tile, that we can then load into our workspace, our Global Mapper workspace. The other thing quickly here, before moving forward, to demystify the nomenclature, 2014 is the year that the data was acquired, and 60 at the end here is the resolution of the imagery. 1 pixel equals 60 centimeters or 2 feet about. But this bit in between, this is the part that looks a little mysterious, and if we divide this in half, 4830, this is an easting value, and the 9420 is a northing value. So for this particular tile, if we look at the vertices, and we'll bring this down, and you'll see the 4830 and the 9420. So the nomenclature that's given relates to the easting and the northing. These are in meters, UTM, for the southwest corner of the tile. It's just a little demystification along the way here. So we'll say, okay, fine. Now we're going to go over to the Layer Control Center here and right-click and go for Layer and then Calculate. So this is where we get to create a new attribute. We're going to call it Path to Tile. And this is the new attribute that we're going to be creating, and it's going to be predicated on file name. And we're going to put some text in front of it. And that particular text will be the first bits of the path to the 60 centimeter folder of TIFF images. So I'm going to Control C, copy that. So we're going to prepend the tile name with Control V, and always remember to put in that backslash, and then calculate. Now if we take a look, say, close. If we take a look at this now, you can see where we've put that first bit of information in front. Now we still need to put the .tif on, so we'll go back, and you didn't need to stop doing this. You could have just stayed in this attribution calculation setup, but I wanted to show the results, so I got out of here. But this time we're going to use the existing, and we're going to continue building on that attribute, only this time we're going to append .tif. Calculate. Okay. And close. And now when we click on that tile, we are seeing a new reaction, a new behavior, where instead it was immediately bringing up the information dialog, now we have this dialog saying, what do you want me to do? So we can look at information, we can load the tile into a Windows application, or we can bring it up into the workspace. So if we click on open it up in Windows, whatever the file is, and in this example it's a TIFF, but it could just as easily be a PDF or some other document, and as long as it's associated, I realize now this is too, yeah, I had to resize that. Anyway, there it is in Photoshop, more or less, not fitting very well quite in this space, but you get the idea. Okay, so I'm going to close that, and then if we otherwise choose, and that was a scroll wheel here, just using the scroll wheel. You can do the pull down and click and pick and click, but if we say load in global mapper, then, and of course we have near infrared data, it's not alpha, and there it is. So there is the the tile, and of course if we go back to the information tool, we'll continue, and we could say keep using this option, and we can keep adding tiles. So this is a quick way to get the appropriate tile into your workspace. And I'll go ahead and do the others just to show how they're done for each one. But it's basically repeating exactly what we just did with the 60 centimeter for the others, for the 30, the 15, and so on. 7.5 centimeters. So that'd be 2 foot, 1 foot, 6 inch, and 3 inch. Okay, so while this is in hyperdrive, we'll mention a couple of things here. One, this is going to be an index that we'll utilize only for getting the imagery that we want into our individual projects. So this will be a tool, this workspace will be a tool or a device for quickly searching for and finding out which tiles we want. And at the end of this process, we'll talk a little bit about catalogs and how that might help in your workflow. The other thing is, you may have noticed a few frames back, I saved the project and I named it 2014 Ortho Index. So my Global Mapper workspace is 2014 Ortho Index. So you can fiddle around with these layer styles as much as you like. The other thing that we'll do here in a few frames is make a group. We're just going to group all of these index under one heading. So, okay, that should do it. Okay, so we were talking about using this as a tool. Now let's say we have a project. It could be out on, say, Swans Island, for example. And we know to begin with that that's 1 foot imagery. So we don't need all these other things. We can turn them off. Whoops, I turned off the 1 foot, didn't I? Yeah. So now we're looking at just the, and we hit the home zoom to, we hit the zoom to that layer, the selected layer, there we are, and down here in this area. So Alt Z, we'll maybe zoom in on someplace, and who knows where we're at. But let's say we're going to work in, our job is involved in this little area in here, and it's on these 4 tiles. We're only interested in 4 tiles. So going back to the information tool, we can start clicking, and this time I'm going to use selected until I change tools. I'm going to load the images into this workspace, but only temporarily. I'm not going to clutter this workspace up with a bunch of image tiles. I'm only going to be using it for reference in the future as like a little shopping cart. So we'll say OK and no, and then again no. Why we can't have that response be a default for all the rest, I don't know. But there we have it. Hit escape. We have these tiles right here. These are the tiles that we're interested in because it's going to go into our work project, not our Ortho Index workspace, but a brand new workspace that involves our little project down here, if we, whatever that might have been. So I've highlighted these tiles. I'm going to right click, and it's here where we will create a map catalog. Now the number of images, we're only using 4, so you really could have probably just copied the 4 image tiles to your project directory. But to illustrate the idea that we're going to do, we're going to be creating a map catalog, so I'm using 4 tiles in this instance. And say OK, and where's my work project? I don't know, I haven't made one, but we could pretend we'll just make one. New folder, 1821 Swans Island, and that's the name of my project. Open. We've got the ice cream man outside, and here we can say 2014 orthos. That'll be enough. So what we're going to create in our directory up here, Swans Island, job number 1821, will be a catalog. It'll be a global mapper catalog. So we're going to save that. And here we have the options to do, and I always check this, always show the map if in view. Otherwise you get a placeholder with, it's not as meaningful. So you can leave that checked. This is what's going to rule. So we'll say OK. And now we can, still in our Global Mapper 2014 Ortho Index workspace, I'm going to just delete these. Okay. And I'm going to, before I leave, I'm going to save, and I'm going to close this workspace and open a new one. Or I could, I'll just open a new one. I'll leave this up. So just to mention it, it maybe is obvious, maybe not, but you can have multiple workspaces open concurrently. So now, Control O, we'll go back and find our job number 2018-21, and there it is, our Global Mapper catalog. Okay. So this will bring in those 4 images, and notice that that's it. It's just a catalog. We don't have the individual tiles as easily identified. If we double click on this, we'll see the same dialog. We can add additional ones just as easily, and we can also modify display of raster images. This is where you can adjust the blending, also the band setup. If you want to see, for example, the classic magenta near infrared or color infrared we can apply that, and it's applied to the entire, say okay, it's applied to the entire group. Again, that's by double clicking or going to the little wrench layer options tool on the catalog. This is this clicking on this modify display raster images is the same, or it's very similar to the dialog if you were going to be doing this on per tile basis. So we can change that back to normal RGB. Okay, so there you have it. A quick application of fetching just the tiles that we're interested in for our project from our index, our master index. So keep that clean and use it as needed. You can build on it. This is just an example of orthos, but you could also add other things in here too that might be of interest, whether they're orthos or not. Maybe they're LiDAR DEM tiles or whatever. But anyway, I hope this has been helpful.